What's going on, y'all? This is Dana Poe, Junior Master Executive 8, and we're continuing our series in Egyptian yoga philosophy. And we are talking about the different netters or the deities and what they represent and their characteristics. So, we're going to be talking about Anubis, Sebek, and Heru. So we'll get right into it. Anubis is also known as Anpu. Anpu represents refined intellect. This refined intellect helps us not to get stuck in our emotions or our illusions, and it assists us with disciplining our bodies and minds. That's so interesting, y'all. My cat just grabbed this bag and is pulling it into the dining room. Oh, he caught a mouse. Good job. It's interesting. As soon as I start doing this, my cat catches a mouse. I don't know what he's gonna do with it, but I'll probably have to clean that up later. Anyway, getting back to it. Something interesting happened yesterday too. I went out. He's sitting there holding his mouse in his good cat in his mouth. But I went out in the backyard yesterday. It was like night, and like soon as I went out there, it was these raccoons or possums. I don't know what it was. Don't lose it. Fighting out there. You know, like soon as I went out there, like wasn't nothing happening before, but as soon as I went out there, they start fighting. And then so they like calmed down. I went, grounding. I think I did a few yoga poses in the dirt. It's kind of dark, so I was just kind of like looking out, cause like these raccoons like to walk through my backyard. So I'm not scared of them or nothing, but I never know which, if any of them have rabies or they might try to like, jump at me. Most of the time, animals are more scared of you than you are of them, so you don't really have nothing to worry about. You better not lose that mouse. Sitting around playing around with it. I ain't gonna try to take him. Last time I tried to take a mouse from my cat, he just bit the whole head off and left me with the body in my hand. So, anyway, sorry y'all about all of that. But yeah, and then something told me to stay out there a little bit longer. I'm about to give you a download. And I was like, man, like I just was listening. So I stay out here longer, I'm about to give you a download. And then it was like, I'm done. And I was like, huh? And then I heard this engine start up. Boom, like not too far from me. And I was like, okay. I don't know what that was, but alright. And then it was like, alright, you can go in now. I went in the house. Anyway, let me get back to it. So, right, so Anpu or Anubis represents refined intellect. This refined intellect helps us not to get stuck in our emotions or illusions and assists us in disciplining our bodies and minds. Peace and harmony are a result of vibrative wave-like thoughts being under control. So this peace and harmony, it don't mean that everything that's going on outside of us is not going on. It just means that no matter what's going on outside of us, our inner world is at peace. The dawning of the darkness turns into light is represented by Anpu. So in the book of Coming Forth by Day, Anpu's job is to watch over the scales in the hall of judgment while remaining extremely diligent in his duties. Additionally, his duty is also in the aspect of Apua, Apua, as also known as Wepwawat, Wepwawet. He just lost that mind. I know he did. He in there playing around with it, or she in there playing around with it. So anyway, in late Egyptian mythology, Wepwawet um, was originally a war deity whose cult center was Asu in Upper Egypt. His name means opener of the ways, and he is often depicted as a wolf standing at the prow of a solar boat. Some interpret that Wepwawet was seen as a scout going out to clear routes for the army to proceed forward. One inscription from the Sinai states that Wepwawet opens the way to King Shechemket's victory. So, like it says above, he is Apwat. He is the opener of ways who leads souls to the Elysian fields in the great oasis. And the Elysian fields, also called Elysium, is the final resting place of souls, of heroic and the virtuous, and that's in Greek mythology and religion. So this characteristic that we share with Anpu is to be extremely diligent when watching the scales. Also, this also applies to us in everyday lives when monitoring our thoughts. So discriminating which ones are divine and which ones are egotistical, and what thoughts are toward nature and what thoughts are towards the perils of life and death and pain and pleasure. So Anpu is a combination of the characteristics and the qualities of his parents, which is why it's important to see the connection in the characters. So his father Asar represented spiritual aspiration, and Nebuchadnezzar represented nature. So Anpu represents our ability to discriminate or to separate what is real or unreal. This discrimination is the most important quality that needs to be developed in someone's journey. At the very least, on an intellectual level, do you have to know what is and what isn't, as well as what you are and what you are not. However, just like with learning anything, we are all at different levels in our lives, and only we can discover truths for ourselves when we are truly ready. So additionally, even when we are reasoning, we should be able to know that nothing is really solid, and that everything in this material realm is just vibrating at different levels. You know, everybody learned that in science class. I know when I first learned that in science class, I immediately just started looking at everything around me, and I was like, wow, you mean to tell me, like, man, I don't remember much from school. I can specifically remember that, though, because the first thing I thought was, man, so I can walk through walls then. Yeah, I mean, so I can teleport. Like, I just started thinking about all this stuff I could do, because I was like, well, if this is not solid and everything's vibrating, that means things can move. Like, that means I should be able to move through things. That's the first thing I thought. I started like looking at my hands, and I'm just like, you mean this is not solid? Like, this is just vibrating very slowly? I mean, it was interesting. That I don't remember, man, I don't remember nothing from school. You know what I mean? I remember that though. I ain't gonna say nothing, but that's the only one of the few things that was significant for me in school. So additionally, even with our reasoning, we should be able to know that nothing is really solid, and that everything in this material realm is vibrating at different levels. So from this understanding, we can understand that we are not this body, but we are a spirit who is immortal. And this understanding is what will lead us to self-discovery. So Anpu is represented as a jackal who has two aspects. The first is that of an embalmer. In this role, Anpu or Anubis prepares the initiate for his journey into the afterlife. The shti is the or shiti or shiti or the shti. It's spelled shti, but I heard this word pronounced before, and I believe it's pronounced shiti. I might be wrong though. Is the aspirant or the body that is in the actual coffin. And we're not talking about like a physical coffin, although in those times like they use coffins. But because the initiate is the ego personality and does not have conscious realization of the transcendental reality, they are in the mummy phase or considered spiritually dead. So the aspirant in this case must be prepared to be good soil. Otherwise, the seeds of physical and virtuous purification will fall on deaf ears. So then there is a practice of mindfulness, or which is represented by Apaut, spelled Apaut, who is constantly discriminating or watching over the ego self. So there are levels to realizing the potential of intuition, and Apaut represents the levels of realization. So oneness with Amun, or the true self, is a result of this gradual process of climbing degrees of realization. In this process, the ego self becomes insignificant, and our true identity is then revealed, and we realize who we really are and have been this whole time. And we also understand how our ego was born out of our ignorance. So next we're going to talk about that's the end of the description for Anpu and his characteristics and what he represents. And we're going to talk about Sebek now. So Sebek represents converted spiritual energy. So Sebek is a deity who on his hieroglyph is represented what looks like a crocodile on top of what I think is a temple. When you look at the hieroglyph, I couldn't find out where it was. I didn't have enough time to really sit there and find out exactly what. I ain't gonna say I didn't have enough time, but I was trying to get this done. So I try not to get stuck, and if it's something I can't find, I put it off for later. But I didn't know what this thing was. Like, it shows a crocodile standing on top of what looks like a temple. So I can assume that this the temple is us, and this crocodile standing on top of the temple would display um, like the tamed crocodile. You know what I'm saying? Because if the crocodile is not tamed and it's trying to kill things, you're not gonna take it outside of the temple. You're gonna leave it inside of the temple. You know what I'm saying? So we don't get out and try to be killing everybody. You know what I'm saying? But if it's tamed, you can let the crocodile out and it's standing on top of it. So it's not only is it tamed, but it's converted. It's upward. It's on top. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion, y'all. But that's what it looks like. That's what the hieroglyph looks like. Um, and and it is another netter that's associated with the animalistic energies of men, because remember Set also represents that as well. So his name is spelled SBK or SOBK. You'll see it spelled many ways: SEBEK, SEBOK, SBK or SOBK. So Sebek is in an alternate version of the myth was both the protector and the transporter of Asar's body during the reconstruction of his body to be resurrected. So pretty much while they're going to look for his body parts, he was on top of Sebek, laying on top of Sebek. I mean, and Sebek was not only his transporter, but he was his protector as well. You know what I mean? So Set and Sebek are similar in their area of representation as far as the natural forces of nature. So Sebek, just like Set, when in a rage, can also be a beast who kills all who crosses his path. So when Sebek is in an uncontrolled state, he is an ally of Set, who is sent to restrain the upward growth of man. Remember, in the story that we went to, Set sent a crocodile out, and it hurt Heru really bad. So in contrast, though, Sebek is an ally to Asar when he is in his controlled state, similar to when our natural bestial energies are tamed and converted to serve us rather than destroy us. So Sebek assisted Heru in the overthrow of Set in the pyramid text, and similar to how Anpu guides the initiate by diligent discrimination, Sebek leads the initiate along the path and restores his or her divine intuitive vision, or his eyes. Remember Asar's eyes, to the deceased Asar, or the initiate, us. So next is the last we're going to talk about is Heru, commonly known as Horus. So pre-dynasty Heru was associated with being the sun god and the supreme being. One of the first dualistic expressions of reality, where Heru was God and Het Heru, which stands for the house of Heru. Like where I got this information from, they cite this as the first representation of duality, but I actually think it was Enki and Enlil, and that's a whole nother story. But so that's why I didn't use this as the first, because I think there were other. I mean, I know there were probably way more others. Like these myths go way back, beyond just our earthly timeline. You know what I'm saying? Like our earthly timeline is one timeline, and like I don't know how many galaxies and universes there are, but this is the one we're working with. So there was also they were also the first beings worshipped as gods there in Egypt. The supreme being, or god Heru, or you, living in his own house or in your own universe. I mean, remember, you have to relate all of these characters to you. They're all you in any myth, whether it be Christianity, Hinduism, it don't matter. They're all you. You know what I mean? Even so, yeah, they're all you. Just here's these different aspects of us. They're all one though. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're necessarily disconnected from each other. We're just highlighting each. When you take something apart, it's easier to work with. You know what I'm saying? It's just easier to work with certain aspects. You know what I'm saying? But you can also, just like how you would do a workout, what they call that, a full body workout. You know what I'm saying? Or oh man, I forgot what the name of it is. It's like a combined movement, like a push-up or like a squat, where you have one exercise that's hitting a bunch of different muscle groups. You know what I'm saying? It's similar to that. And us looking at each one is kind of like when you isolate a muscle group. So the supreme being, or god Heru, Heru's symbol in the pre-dynastic era. I'm gonna talk about that too, because I don't know much about pre-dynastic and dynastic and how exactly the switch came to be. But from what I can see here is that pre and post dynasty, the gods had different roles. I mean, the netters had different roles. The attributes had different roles. So anyway, in the dynastic times, Heru was seen as Heru P. Kahart, or Heru the child, as we saw in the Assyrian story, where Heru grows up to take on Set in his adult form and avenges his father's death. So that's it for today, and we'll probably pick it up next week and continue with this. But I'm just gonna do it, and I'll let you guys know after I'm done what I did. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful. I want to, it's great to talk about all of this, and it gives us understanding, but I'm going to really start asking for a system. Like, this is a system, so as I go through it, I will include different things that you can do to really start applying this stuff. So right now we're just kind of moving through it, so you can have an understanding of all the different parts before it comes together. But I want to create a system that can really help. Myself. I'm applying this all to myself, so it's not like I'm not focusing on myself first. Um, but something that others can use as well to assist them on their journeys. So I'll start asking for that. I mean, I kind of been asking for that unconsciously, but like it's time to be a little bit more intentional. But anyway, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it gives you an understanding into these characteristics and some more awareness about yourself and who you are, and that this awareness brings you closer to your higher self. All right, thank you.